Hello everyone, so today we're going to talk about coloring the background of your Seeds of Change project. So I mentioned before that you need to do the complementary color from your food item. So complementary colors are colors that are across from each other on the color wheel. So you have green and red that are complementary colors. You have blue and orange that are complementary colors. And then finally you have purple and yellow that are complementary colors. I know the colors on the screen might not look the same, but again, red and green are complementary, blue and orange, and purple and yellow. So what that means is that if you mix any of these two colors together, they'll create brown. So when you use them in artwork together, they help make each other darker. And they help really not spotlight one more than the other. Okay, so how this works is depending on what the main color of your food item is. So I have a strawberry, even though there's some green leaves up here, the main color of my food item is in fact red. So that means that I'm using this set where red is my main color of my food item and green is the complementary color. So when you're doing your background, it's not just the complementary color, but it's the same colors that are in the family with each other. So that means things like when you're using green as your primary color for your background, you'll also bring in blues and purples as well, so that you don't just have to have that green by itself. So what I like to do is I like to pull out all of those colors in the color family. So these are my cooler colors, where things that are bright and vibrant like yellows and oranges are my warm colors. You can kind of see the contrast. These are a lot warmer feeling, and these are a lot cooler, more earth tones. So when I do this is I'm setting up my crayon or my colored pencils and I'm trying to arrange them from lightest to darkest, so that if I try to make something lighter, I know what shade is lighter, and when I'm trying to make something darker, I can make it darker with those colors. So I'm just kind of arranging them, seeing what looks best. And so this way I have kind of an arrangement of what they look like. I like to start out with a medium value, so I'm going to use this guy. Move these off to my side. And what I did was I outlined around my food object and I just did a back and forth coloring. So just a simple back and forth coloring over the whole thing. So the next thing I add to this is I want to start to bring in that shadow that's in that food object, because we're really focusing on highlights and shadows. And I'm going to bring in those shadows by doing what's called scumbling, which are small overlapping circles. And what that allows me to do, and you can see in some of these areas where I've created shadows in these samples, is that when I do that scumbling technique, it doesn't create a harsh line of where my coloring has ended. It creates kind of a smoother, softer transition, and that's kind of what you want when you're looking for a highlight. It's not a line where it ends, but it's where it actually, what you're looking at. Okay. So when you look at your food item, typically your light source will be on the top, and the highlight, remember, is that lightest part where it's almost pure white. And your shadow is opposite of the fruit than the highlight. So if my highlight's up here, my shadow would be on the bottom. So look at your image, and then you'll start to build up color using that scumbling technique. So I'm not going with my darkest color, but I'm going more with my medium value. So that's that green. And I want to go out a little bit further than I see that cast shadow. So a cast shadow is a shadow that an object casts or creates. So I'm building that up, and don't be afraid to go really dark with this. At no point am I using black, but I'm just using those darker, cooler tones. So my dark blue, my dark purple, and really starting to bring that in. If I find that the scumbling isn't making it as dark as I want it to be, sometimes I'll come in with some hatching. So hatching are short lines that are close together. And other times, if it's still not getting dark enough, I'll take into cross hatching, which is going the opposite direction. And I'll show you how I utilize that now. So I'm going to go switch over to my purple, and I'll start to just bring those lines out. So what happens is that as I'm pulling this color, it's darker where I initially press down, and then as I pull, it gets lighter because my hand is no longer pressing as hard in the beginning of the stroke as it is at the end of it. So I'm just adding that to my picture. And then if I wanted to do the cross hatching, I'd go at a 90-degree angle and bring that up. And I can soften it again by layering some of that scumbling on top of it. So don't be afraid to go back to a color that you've already used to kind of smooth out an area. Okay, so that's kind of our basics. Definitely make sure that you look at your image. It'll be very helpful. And again, as an art teacher, one of my easiest things to tell is when you have and have not used the image you're working off of. All right, everybody, good luck. Remember, complementary colors are red and green, orange and blue, and then purple and yellow. All right.